CNC. For those of you who don't know me or don't know me well, my name is Elena Sokolow-Kaufman, and I'm the Managing Director of the Cambridge Nonprofit Coalition. It gives me great pleasure to welcome you to this annual meeting. Our goal for today is to come together as a community to celebrate our accomplishments with one another as nonprofit leaders and with all of those who support our sector. Before we jump into the agenda, just two quick housekeeping notes. As you may already have noticed, we are recording this session so that we can share it with others who are unable to be here today. And secondly, please make sure that you mute yourself. You should already be muted, but if you have to unmute yourself for some reason, please mute yourself again so that we can hear the speakers clearly. In terms of our agenda, we will welcome you, which we've already done. We will say our thank yous. We'll give a little bit of an overview of CNC, and then we'll get really into the meat of the meeting, talking about our accomplishments from the last year, as well as highlights from the findings of our last Cambridge nonprofit survey, as well as what's next in 2022 for us. There will be some polls in between to keep things interesting, and will be facilitated with the help of Daniel Weinstock. So first, thank you. Thank you to our funders who have supported our work over the last year. Your support gave us the capacity to do all of the amazing things that we're about to talk about. So thank you. Thank you to our phenomenal steering committee, as well as all of our subcommittee members for your time, for your energy, for your leadership, and for your friendship. Our CNC staff team is mighty, but it is definitely small. So we literally could not do this without you. And since I mentioned my team, thank you to my team. You guys are awesome. Catherine, Eugenia, and Megan, you all put in a lot of extra hours these last few days as we were preparing. So I just wanted to say, I appreciate you more than I can say. And finally, thank you to everyone who's on this call, taking the time to be with us today, taking time out of your day to celebrate. And then we can continue right along. So a little bit about CNC. Our mission is to advance equity and justice in the community by strengthening the nonprofit sector, building collective voice, and promoting collaboration. Our vision is a city where all community members have equitable access to opportunities and resources. That's really important, so I'm going to say it again, where all community members have equitable access to opportunities and resources, and where the nonprofit sector is a valued partner in leading social change that addresses historical injustice, levels the playing field, and improves our community. As you can see here, we are absolutely a growing coalition. We are currently at 73 members and climbing, representing organizations providing a wide range of services from early childhood education to environmental preservation, affordable housing production and advocacy, legal services, and much, much more. And now it is time for our first poll. So I will turn it over to Daniel.
Good afternoon. It is wonderful to see so many beautiful faces. And we're going to use polling throughout the meeting as a way to invite your interaction with the many wonderful accomplishments we'll be celebrating, and hopefully with the spirit of joy that everyone brought into the opening question in the chat, and lots of really beautiful ways that folks have found joy and are continuing to. So please scroll through the chat if you want some brilliant ideas. So the poll will come up on your screen, and this one invites us to help think about who is in the Zoom room with us today, and particularly wanting to get a sense of your affiliation in terms of your organizational identity, your experience in and around Cambridge and the vital work that you do, and also about your identity and the recognition that as we are striving to move in ways that are anti-racist and lead towards equity, we need to attend to naming who is in our room and who's not in our room, and what are the conditions that contribute to those dynamics. So I see we have some seasoned poll users. Clearly, all of our collective time on Zoom is helping us practice. And we're at about 40% of participants involved so far. I'm going to give it another 30 seconds or so to see if we can up that percentage. Thank you all for contributing. And for those folks who have already contributed, I always find it fun to imagine, how did my responses fit within the broader whole of who is in our Zoom room today? All right, beautiful. We are at a magical number of participants. So I'm going to end the poll so we can see what we can learn. All right, so seeing a lot of representation from CNC member organizations as well as other nonprofits. That is beautiful. A rich range of tenure working in support of folks in Cambridge, and just want to highlight the value of both those of us who have been here for more than 10 years and also those who may be newer. Important to bring those perspectives. And then as we look at racial ethnic identity categories, vast majority of folks identifying as white, and want to recognize that that's a place for us to continue to work within this sector in the city. We have 20% of us are part of an immigrant community. The majority of us identify as female, in a range of ages that skews in the 30 to 60 range, as well as a small number of us who identify as being part of the LGBTQ plus community and part of the disability community. And also want to just acknowledge that this was not fully inclusive of all the identities we have represented, and that's something that I appreciate folks naming for us. So thank you. I'm going to stop sharing and turn it back over to Elena.
Thank you, Daniel. So this brings us to the meat of our discussion, our accomplishments. So I would say in 2021, we accomplished a lot with the support and leadership of our subcommittees. Our subcommittees, which meant at least monthly during the whole year, helped us plan for the future of CNC, bring resources to the sector, as well as design programming that supports the work of individual organizations and individual leaders. And starting here, this slide really speaks to our efforts to support the sector at large. This work was led by our Strategic Thinking Subcommittee, co-chaired by Michael Delia, Executive Director of East End House, and Maria LePage, Executive Director at Agassiz Baldwin Community. This year, we were able to leverage our position as an intermediary in Cambridge to collect and share information about the needs of the nonprofit sector by conducting multiple surveys on the health and well-being of the sector. We successfully advocated for a second round of $1 million in COVID relief grants for Cambridge nonprofits. And as we recommended to the Community Benefits Advisory Committee, these grants were administered through a simple application process with limited reporting out of the Community Benefits Fund. We worked very hard with the City of Cambridge to promote the opportunity as widely as possible. And as a result, over 100 Cambridge organizations benefited from these funds. And most recently, we developed and shared guiding principles for investing the American Rescue Plan Act fiscal recovery funds, otherwise known as ARPA, in Cambridge. And these guiding principles include leveraging nonprofit leaders as knowledgeable partners, centering racial equity in decision-making, and investing in robust community engagement, and streamlining and simplifying processes in order to remove barriers for nonprofits that are struggling to access resources in a crisis. In addition, we raised awareness of the concerns of nonprofit leaders during the election, and we did this by circulating a CNC questionnaire that highlighted nonprofit priorities and sharing the results on our website, in our newsletter, and through our social media channels. And we also partnered with My Brother's Keeper Cambridge and the Cambridge Community Foundation on 2 candidate forums so we could explore those issues in real time. Finally, we continue to represent Cambridge nonprofits on a variety of city committees. These include the Community Benefits Advisory Committee, which makes the decisions on how community benefits funds are invested. And these representatives are Maria LePage from Agassiz Baldwin, Kimberly Massenberg from the Margaret Fuller House, and Catherine Fenneman had also been a representative until she left her position at Tutoring Plus recently. Robert Gittens is on the Family Policy Council, and I was recently appointed to the Cambridge Redevelopment Authority Strategic Advisory Group. We also dedicated a lot of resource and time and energy to maintaining mission-based spaces. And so this is really about creating space for leaders who work in the same field or subsector to come together, to work together. There are 3 mission-based subcommittees that have been meeting this year, and they include the Out of School Time Subcommittee, the Unhoused Advocacy Subcommittee, and the Arts and Culture Subcommittee. In each case, they came together to connect, to share resources, to develop partnerships, which sometimes ended up being programmatic, and also work together collectively on anything that they identified as a shared concern. And as you would imagine, this looks slightly different for each group. So for the Out of School Time Subcommittee led by Darren Cordy, this came in the form of developing a scholarship program in partnership with the City of Cambridge for students needing support during remote learning. And it was so successful that they were able to extend it through the summer. For the Unhoused Advocacy Subcommittee led by Michelle Long and Cassie Hurd, it meant assisting in the development of a new program, a new entity, the Green Street Shelter, which opened in response to the pandemic. And this is where subcommittee members provided guidance, training, technical assistance to the shelter provider Solutions at Work. And for the Arts and Culture Subcommittee, led by Rachel Rockaburton of the Rebels and Maggie Moore Abdow of Central Square Theater, this meant successful advocacy around greater funding flexibility for the Cultural Capital Fund, as well as more recently, some programmatic partnerships that have developed where organizations are now sharing space and resources in a new way. In addition, we have done some programming this year as well, which lives in our Membership and Governance Subcommittee led by Maritza Grooms of CCTV. We continued this year with our monthly executive director lunches, which have been really popular, facilitated by Sasha Purpura of Food for Free and Darren Cordy of Cambridge Community Center. Typically, each of these sessions brings 10 to 15 executive directors together for peer support and resource sharing and discussion, which is really led and driven by the leaders themselves. We engaged Jessie Cass, a former executive director of the Cambridge Women's Center, to deliver a series of training workshops for new nonprofit leaders on effective and compassionate supervision. The first session was so popular and in high demand that we brought her back for a second time and added on free one-on-one coaching for all of the participants in the workshops. And finally, we partnered with the Cambridge Volunteer Clearinghouse for our first Cambridge Serve series, featuring 2 very lively online discussions exploring issues related to equity and volunteerism that attracted over 200 attendees. Finally, we took some major steps towards developing our own capacity as an organization. We secured a new fiscal sponsor, Mission Earth, after 5 years under the umbrella of the Cambridge Community Foundation. And that is where our work began. And so we are so grateful for all of the support we received from the Cambridge Community Foundation during that time and through the transition, as well as the support received from Mission Earth to help make that transition a smooth one. We added staff capacity through bringing on 2 social work graduate students, graduate fellows, one from Boston College, Megan Robbins, and one from Boston University, Catherine Boyington, who will take us through the results actually of our last survey in a moment. And then we began really more focused work to make CNC more inclusive. We created a DEI, a Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Advisory Committee in order to set us on a path forward. They helped us design and implement a survey to establish a baseline really from where we are starting, and also to assess our organizational policies and practices that are related to diversity, equity, and inclusion. And our plan is to use this information to help set strategic goals for the next 2 years that are centered around diversity, equity, and inclusion. And now it is time for our next poll. So I will turn it over to Daniel.
So first of all, wow, what an incredible set of accomplishments in the past year. And so as I prepare to launch the poll, I'll just invite you, if you are in a space where you can make some noise, even though you're on mute, like shout out the celebration or wave your arms or clap it up or snap it up, but like let us celebrate this wonderful year of accomplishments. And in generating some energy for yourself, we invite you into this poll to consider, in all of these accomplishments that Elena just took us through, what area of accomplishment are you feeling most energized by? Oh, look at, these are the quickest moving polls I've had in a long time. This is so exciting. People are energized, Elena. Yes, yes, love it. All right, we'll give it another 30 seconds. And yes, some love and shout outs in the chat about all of the accomplishments. All right, wow, we're above 90% participation. People are feeling energized. And let's see, let's check out these results, y'all. So definite majority supporting the Cambridge nonprofit sector at large, really tribute to CNC's growth and work. And then also a lot of important recognition for the issue-specific subcommittee work, for the internal capacity building. I love capacity building. We need more of it, more resources for capacity building, please. And of course, programming, so wonderful. Thank you. I'm feeling energized, and I'll turn it back over to Elena, or maybe it's going to Catherine, we'll see.
Thank you, Daniel. I love the energy that you're bringing. Elena, could you go to the next slide, please? All right. Hello, everyone. It's nice to see you all. My name is Catherine Boyington, and I am a Boston University Social Work Graduate Fellow. As many of you know, we conducted a survey in December to assess the financial health and staff capacity of nonprofit organizations in and around Cambridge. We had a total of 60 respondents, and I want to take a moment to thank you for participating, as it's given us a clearer picture of the challenges nonprofits are facing as we continue into the 3rd year of the pandemic. The respondents to the survey were either located in Cambridge, had a footprint that included Cambridge, Eastern Massachusetts, or are now operating fully remote due to COVID. As you can see from the chart on the left, the respondents serve areas all across the sector, from services for the unhoused community to youth development to arts and culture and many more. The majority, approximately 61%, are small and medium-sized organizations, meaning that they have an annual budget of $1 million or less. And 51% of the respondents serve primarily members of the BIPOC community, meaning more than 50% of your constituents and clients are members of the BIPOC community. And next slide. There are signs of recovery for some organizations when we compare the data to the November 2020 survey. But it's important to highlight that this improvement is only in comparison to the previous year, November 2020, when 67% of respondents reported less revenue than the year before. And that was the time when many organizations were experiencing shutdowns. 28% of respondents report less revenue than November of 2020. And 30% report that revenue is the same. That's over half of organizations reporting the same or less revenue than the point in the pandemic when many were shut down. Next slide. Many organizations are experiencing significant increases in their expenses. 64% report greater expenses than last year. And a few have dramatically increased expenses of 150% or more. This is a marked difference from November 2020, when 36% of respondents reported greater expenses than the previous year. The increase in expenses appears to be largely driven by increases in demand for services and programming, staffing, as well as space and PPE needs associated with the pandemic. The results also show us that a majority of organizations are experiencing increases in demand. 68% of respondents reported an increase in demand for their services this year. 82% anticipate that the demand for their services will increase next year. Next slide. The survey results show us that changes in the overall job market are making retaining staff and filling vacancies extremely difficult. 52% of respondents report that they have vacant positions. 27% don't have the funding needed to fill their positions. And organizations are citing the major causes of these difficulties are salary competition and staff burnout. Next slide. Sharp increases in demand and staffing challenges appear to impact organizations' ability to meet community needs. The ability to mostly or fully meet the needs of the community decreased from 56.6% in November of 2020 to now 41.6% in December of 2021. Next slide, please. Our key takeaways from the survey are that there is evidence of recovery, but only for some organizations. Staff vacancies and issues retaining and recruiting staff are clearly a top area of challenge nonprofit organizations are facing at this time. There's also been a sharp rise in expenses due to the requirements to provide a safe environment during the pandemic with things such as PPE, testing, masks, spacing requirements. And demand has continued to grow and is expected to continue, which may exacerbate the challenges that nonprofits are facing if there isn't some financial intervention. And in terms of our next steps, as Lena discussed, we've submitted to the City of Cambridge our guiding principles for the distribution of ARPA funds. And now, utilizing the survey data, our intent is to formulate a more specific, concrete request around ARPA funding on behalf of the nonprofit community. And I will pass it back to Daniel. Thank you.
Thank you, Catherine. So really helpful snapshot of data, and just want to invite, if you have any data specific questions, please feel free to enter them in the chat and we'll try to attend to them towards the end. And I want to both recognize the real level of need in the community that is present in this data, I want to recognize the way that our nonprofits have been able to demonstrate a degree of flexibility, of capacity for change, and of responsiveness that is so incredibly inspiring. And the final thing that I want to recognize before I launch this poll is also just the recognition of how important it is to come together as a collective to build a sense of mutuality and collective resiliency to attend to the level of community need that we're seeing, the level of demand that we just saw described, and the ways that nonprofits can actually turn towards one another for a sense of connection and support. So thank you all for being here. Thank you all for the work that you do, and want to invite you now into this poll, which just encourages you to reflect on the degree to which the data that Catherine just walked us through so nicely aligns with your own experience. So we will see how this reflects your experience. Thank you, my experienced poll doers. Really impressed with these poll taking skills and all else you do in your world. And thank you for the folks who are entering questions in the data. Really appreciate that. Both an interest in receiving the slides, question about percent of CNC members responding to the survey. So helpful questions that we will try to attend to before we wrap up. Take another 15 seconds with the poll before we close it down. And again, high-level responses, appreciate that. In our final moments, we will end it. And let's see what we notice here. So majority of us see the survey results aligning very well with our individual experiences. And no percent of us see these not aligning. And then some other responses. And so certainly for those folks who put other, we welcome you to share some of your experience in the chat so that we can build out our collective understanding of Cambridge and the sector right now. And with that, I will turn it back over to Elena.
Hello, everyone. At this point, I'd actually like to hand it over to Michael, who's going to be talking about some of the upcoming opportunities that we have. So Michael, if you can unmute yourself and go ahead.
Okay. Hi, everybody. It is so nice to see everybody on this call, and just want to thank all our member organizations, and to also thank our public sector partners and private sector partners for supporting this work in the community. We are all stronger together, and really want to thank you for being engaged this past year. It's been definitely a challenging year, and the CNC has been evolving and developing despite that. We have proven to be a very resilient community, because the ability to lean on each other across sectors within our sector has been something that is a strength. And moving forward, we certainly want to help the CNC evolve to be a really powerful asset to members on the ground with the day-to-day support that we offer in terms of the issue-specific subcommittees, the ED lunches, other trainings we offer. If you have ideas in terms of ways we could support you in your day-to-day work, please let us know. Reach out to Elena, anyone on the CNC team, or anyone on the steering committee, and be happy to hear what your thoughts are. We are very much excited also to focus on the health and wellness of the sector. It has been a concern of ours for a long time. For us to be the best version of ourselves, we need to take care of ourselves, but also know that by being stronger as a sector, we can deliver better on our mission of supporting the residents of Cambridge. And so coming up in the next year, we're going to be looking at our strategy. We had our first strategic plan developed in 2017. And do know that the CNC is only just under 10 years old. We were founded in 2013. A number of us began talking informally, and we felt that there was a real opportunity for us to be better by being more intentional in terms of our collaboration and more strategic with not only each others, but also with our public and private sector partners. And we just owed it to ourselves, and particularly to the consumers that we work with, to be better in terms of our relationships and our collaborative work. So coming up, we invite you to be engaged in our conversation around strategy. We're not going to be doing a full-blown strategic planning process because we know that the bandwidth of everyone is very limited, but we are looking at the 2017 strategic plan, and we're trying to look at it through the lens of what's happening right now. And what are the emergent needs? What are the strategic aspirations and intentions that we want as a community? And so over the next 6 months, through many different types of touch points, we're going to be engaging our members in a conversation regarding not only how the sector is doing, but how we can be more intentional and focused in our work through our goal setting and our strategies and our metrics. We are moving forward and wanting to do this work through the lens of DEI, diversity, inclusion, and equity. And it's really important for us to be able to live those values of collaboration, inclusion, transparency, and strategy and leadership as we move forward. So we need all of you to work with us. We're excited about moving forward. We are looking forward to working with our public and private sector partners to define ways and avenues for better supporting the work on the ground. We're excited to have conversations about ARPA relief funds and ways that we can work together to be a better community. So thank you.
That's great. Thank you, Michael. And up next, we have Maritza Grooms to share some more upcoming events and opportunities.
Hey everybody, nice to see so many faces here. I'm really excited about this year and what we have going on. The first thing that I would love everybody to save your date, March 10th at 5:30 p.m. We're gonna have a really awesome event. Cambridge Serves 2022 in partnership with Cambridge Volunteer Clearinghouse, reimagining boards with Vu Lei. If you are a nonprofit unicorn, then you already know Vu and you're familiar with his work. If you are not, I highly, highly recommend that you check out the blog Nonprofit AF so you can see what you'll be getting yourself into when you come to that event, because I'm sure all of you will be coming to that event. That's my hope for 2022. With that event is going to be focused on just where we are as nonprofits and what boards do and what boards could be doing better, right? Because we're all trying to make sure that our work is at the forefront and that we're serving our communities to the best that we can. And that's really what that event will be about, and how boards can really be engaged in joining nonprofits with that work. The other thing that's really awesome, Elena already talked about how popular the Jesse Cass trainings have been. And so we have more to offer with Jesse Cass, boundaries and burnout. And I'm sure that that is something that we can all relate to, just working in the sector, but also after the last couple of years, there is so much, I'm sure, that we could glean from that workshop. So sign up as soon as that's out there. Definitely check that out. And then the other really cool thing that's happening is we want to uplift your work. All of you are doing such incredible work. So if you're a member here at CNC, we want to make sure that people know about the work that you're doing. And that'll be featured monthly on the website and the blog and the newsletter. So make sure to check that out. And if you're not already a member, look at these incredible opportunities that you would have if you were a member. So you should maybe consider joining CNC. And if you are a member, maybe join a subcommittee. It's so much fun, the work that we get to do. We get to really work together, get to know each other, and really just make Cambridge a better place. So why not join a subcommittee and do some incredible work with CNC and come out and join all of these events? Definitely save March 10th, because I'm sure you're not going to want to miss that. But I will hand it back over to, I think it's Daniel coming up next again. Awesome. It's great to see everybody, and I'm sure I'll see you soon.
Thank you, Maritza. And if my understanding is correct, you may actually be helping to moderate that event in March. So, you know, like, I appreciate you humility and all of that. And yet it's also an opportunity to hear and see more with Maritza. So kudos to you. Wow, I am filled by all of the wonderful accomplishments, by the realities of how our nonprofits have navigated these really extraordinary times and continue to, and also by the energy that Cambridge Nonprofit Coalition is continuing to hold in helping us move forward in a collective fashion. And so, first of all, just want to invite us to pause and invite you to just appreciate your engagement during this time. Like, give yourself a hug, a pat on the back, clap it up for you for being here and being engaged in the way that you are. And also take a moment to reflect. So, a lot of information. And we are very adept at moving through our days with lots of stuff coming at us without sometimes just pausing to consider what's landing with us. And so invite you into these two questions. What is a takeaway for you in this moment, for you, for your organization, or for the Cambridge Nonprofit Coalition? And what is a question I have? And we'll just do a minute of silence for you to reflect on those, and then invite you to enter your responses in the chat. And also do want to open up the floor. Some of us process better verbally. And so also we'll invite you to use the raise hand feature if you're interested in sharing verbally what is present for you right now. So we'll do 1 minute of silence and then open it up to see what's in the chat and what people want to bring verbally. Beautiful. Thank you for taking that moment for yourselves and for our shared learning. Elena, yeah, if you could just please stop sharing your screen just so we can see the beauty of the folks who are present. And then also turn our attention to some of what's popping in the chat, and definitely know that y'all are bringing some really important responses to the chat. including question of what are requirements for an organization to join. So yay, interest in new members, adding to those dozens and dozens. Impressed by CNC's broad accomplishments and reminder to focus on the needs of the marginalized. Need to have a consolidated voice as the nonprofits in Cambridge. It's served us well, so building on an existing strength, love that. More help for a specific organization, and Gail, good to have you here around accomplishing diversity, equity, and inclusion goals. And then the reality of being overfilled on our plates. Wonderful to see all the accomplishments consolidated and almost overwhelming. Darren, I had that experience too in a good way. We have a few seconds to that. And yes, there is some boring back-end work of nonprofits, I think, and inspiring to hold that differently. How can we put CNC forward as a must-be for all nonprofits? And lots of other really rich recognition of the work of nonprofit leaders. See the wonderful faces and people we have here. And the reality of staffing is a very present dynamic and struggle for so many organizations. And then also an answer to a previous question that yes, the slides and recording will be available on the CNC website. So is there anyone who didn't get a chance to share that wants to bring your voice in? And any other reflections to share? There's a lot of rich ideas in the chat to scroll back to. Please feel free. If other takeaways come up for you, drop them in. And Elena, I'll turn it back to you to see what else we can contribute.
Well, thank you, Daniel. That does bring us to the end of our official agenda. So I guess I'd love to just pause for a second. Obviously, thank everyone for being here. Thank you for spending the time with us. Thank you for all of the work that you've been doing day in and day out through the exhaustion, honestly, of what COVID has done to our environment. And I also want to, again, open the floor if anyone wants to verbally ask a question or verbally make a reflection on what you just heard. And I'll give another 30 seconds. And if we don't, then miracles have happened and we have finished early. So 30 more seconds.
I see Burhan with a hand up. Thank you.
Hello, guys. Sorry, I'm still on an older version of Zoom, so I can't put it up digitally. But it's my first time in being one of these meetings. I'm a new city councilor in Cambridge. I just wanted to say I was floored by all the amazing organizations here, the number of organizations, and all of the amazing work that you guys are up to. And so I just wanted to say it was really amazing, and I'm so happy to have seen it, and also to put so many faces to a lot of the organizations I know have been doing a lot of great work. That's just it. Appreciation for you all.
Thank you so much, Burhan, and congrats on your election. Gita, I see your hand up. Please unmute, Gita, because we can't hear you if you're talking.
Unmute. Okay, unmuted.
Yay.
So, hey, everyone. I just wanted to add my heartfelt thanks for all the amazing work. I mean, it is, it's incredible what you all did during COVID and what you continue to do. And I just wanted to say a huge thank you. And it's just great to see the Cambridge Nonprofit Coalition really evolve. I love the partnership with the clearinghouse, with the volunteer clearinghouse. I think these are such amazing developments. And I just wanted to say Thank you, thank you, thank you from all of us at the Cambridge Community Foundation.
Thank you so much. Ellen.
Thanks. I just wanted to add my thanks. It's been really wonderful for the city to be able to partner with the nonprofit coalition and to be able to support the not-for-profit community. It's clear, and as has been mentioned, the work that was done during the pandemic, the work that was done prior to the pandemic, and the work that needs to continue as we hope we move to a different place with COVID. The not-for-profit community plays a critical role, and the coalition being able to be a collective voice as well as an opportunity for support to the individual organizations has been really important. So just wanted to express my gratitude for the work of the coalition and the individual members.
Thank you. Love the spirit of celebration that continues to reverberate. Virginia, I see your hand up.
Thank you. I just wanted to, because I'm trying to read on the chat, and I just wanted to, if you guys could go over what it entails to become a member, just so that I can bring this back to our coalition meeting. Thank you.
Thank you for asking that. And I'll turn it over to Elena or another CNC member to answer that.
Sure. It is actually very, very simple to be a member. All you really need to be is a nonprofit. And then there's just a form you fill out online with very basic information about your organization. And then there's a sliding scale membership fee, based on your annual budget size, and the last thing we want to do is set up a barrier to entry. So even if that's an issue, just please come talk to me. We'd love to have you guys.
Thank you so much. And congratulations. Everything was very nice today. I really think the slides, the information was great. And I was even thinking about the slides, so I'll go and take a look at that and share with everybody else. Thank you.
Thank you for bringing your voice into the space. Anyone else? All right, Elena, I think you get to close us out.
All right. Well, thank you all again for coming. As you leave, you will be directed to a survey via Zoom. Please take a minute or two to fill that out. This was our first ever annual meeting, so everything is a learning, everything is a data point for learning. And please just, help us continue to improve. Oh, I see a hand, Mary Catherine.
Yeah, no, whoops, am I unmuted? Yeah. I just want to say, Elena, you've done an amazing job. I did not, I'm from Cambridge Center for Adult Ed, and, joining a subcommittee on the arts and culture group has been transformative for me in terms of being able to know what other people are doing in terms of funding and stuff like that through the pandemic is amazing. But I have to say, I think you've done a great job, and I just want to applaud you at this annual meeting and say what a great job I think you've done.
Thank you.
There we go.
So please take a moment, fill out the survey, and have a wonderful day. Enjoy the snow tomorrow. We will all be shoveling our way out of our homes tomorrow. Have a great day. Thank you.